Welcome to the Teachers Need Teachers podcast, where we help new and beginning teachers navigate through those crazy first years of teaching so you can maintain your sanity and personal life. Here's your host, Kim Lapre.
Welcome to the Teachers Need Teachers podcast, episode number 15. I'm your host, Kim Lapre from teachersneedteachers.com, which is a coaching and community site for new and beginning teachers who don't want to just survive those first few years, but actually thrive. Hey, thanks for coming and hanging out with me today. I love having you here, and I hope that you've been enjoying this past series where I interview different administrators to talk about not only education, but also what they look for when hiring a new teacher, and also going through a mock interview process myself. Today, I wanted to give you some key takeaways from all of these interviews so that you can start thinking and preparing for your future interview and just really nail it when you're there. So the first takeaway is that you should be prepared to discuss how you build relationships. Pretty much every principal and administrator talked about the importance of building relationships with students. It is so key because it is something that no matter what a principal does, they can't teach you to get along with students. They can't teach you to like kids. It has to be inherent, and it has to be something that's actually important to you. It has to be important that you want to build their trust and create rapport. Now, building relationships isn't necessarily the same as having them like you, but let me tell you, it makes all the difference if they do like you. It doesn't mean that you have to be silly or change your personality, but it does mean that you are creating a connection with students, because not all students necessarily want a funny teacher. I have a lot of students who are very serious, and while they do laugh at my jokes and they enjoy it, I can also tell that they like to get down to business. So showing your love, compassion, and empathy for kids, that is really important because, again, they can't teach that to you, and they are definitely looking for that first and foremost. Second, you need to use specific examples whenever possible. So even if it's from something that you have observed, something that happened during student teaching, either from your teaching or your master teacher, what they did, use examples or be really specific on what you would do and why. They want to hear not just, I would talk to the kid. Tell them what you would say to them. What would you tell them if you pulled a student aside when they were misbehaving? Or if you tell them, I would use team building exercises. What types of activities would you do during those team building exercises? They don't want generalities, they want specifics because they don't know what you mean. So that's another one that was really important and emphasized. This next one is really, really important. You definitely want to research a school before going in. Now, I sort of messed this one up in episode 10 with Asia Cunningham because all I did was look at their website, but I didn't really go in depth. And she didn't necessarily call me out on it, but she did ask me if I did research. And she even said she wants to make sure that you know the pulse and the heart of the school. And this is definitely important. You want to know what they're all about because they're going to ask you, why did you specifically choose this school? And if you can't cite anything that you found either from social media about the school or specifically on the website, then you're not really going to stand out, and there's a good chance they're not going to choose you. And also remember, James Moffat had mentioned this in episode 9. He is Googling everyone who's applying for a job. They're looking at everything that you post on social media, whatever it can be found about you. So if they're Googling you, you're going to want to Google them as well. And Scott Schwartz in episode 11 also mentioned that you're going to want to be sure that the school or district aligns with your own beliefs. And so you don't want to apply for a school where maybe they're all about standards-based grading and you've read about it and have no interest in that, because if they require it and you don't have buy-in, you're going to be miserable there and you're probably not going to last very long. Another tip is to admit when you don't know the answer. Now, Rob Folk in episode 12 really drove this home that you shouldn't just make it up. In fact, you can state that you don't know, but here's how I would find out more about it. Admitting that you don't know something is better than sort of BSing your way through an answer. And they can tell that you're BSing, and it creates a really uncomfortable situation. So just be upfront and honest. They know that you're brand new. They know that you probably don't know. And even if you should know, just state, I don't really know much about that. I probably should. And I plan to take the time to learn more about it by doing X, Y, and Z. So be honest about it and admit that you're not really sure. Also, you're going to want to try to weave in your strengths in your answers to the questions. In episode 14, Ross Cooper really discussed how you want to try to make sure that when you're answering a question, that you turn your answer into something that sort of highlights something that you're good at, something that is your strength, so that you can really stand out and show them that this is something that would give them a reason to hire you. So if they're asking you about relationship building, you can talk about the importance of relationship building, and then you can also talk about all the awesome ways that you build relationships or something that you did in your student teaching that went really, really well. Let's say that it's a question about how you would handle a parent who wants to argue about a grade. Well, if you've never had that experience before, you can talk about how you work really well with parents, how you're really diplomatic with them, and you create good relationships with parents. And that would make it so that it's easier for you to have that conversation without upsetting anyone, and both parties win. So you can turn something that you don't really have a lot of experience with into a strength. And also, as Mick Maureen mentioned in episode number 13, they know that you're just starting out. They actually really like taking new teachers because this gives them the chance to work on what they feel is important to teaching, rather than you coming in with preconceived notions. So don't come in worrying that you're not going to get the job because you lack experience. As long as you can build those connections with students and you show your passion and love for them and for the profession of teaching, you definitely have a strong chance to get the job. But if you come in and you're a little bit jaded or negative, or if they asked you, why did you leave your previous job, and you have a lot of negative things to say, you're probably not going to get the job. I'm just being honest with you. So you want to come in being the upbeat, positive person that they're looking for. So I don't know if you noticed, but as I progressed through the interviews, by the time I got to episode 14, I actually got pretty good at answering the questions, and this is going to happen to you as well. So you may have to go through 6 or 7 interviews before you finally land a job. And I'm kind of hoping that this particular series will help you so that you don't necessarily have to go through 6 or 7 interviews before you get a job. But just know that each time you're going to get better. So you have to kind of cut yourself some slack if you don't get it right away. A lot of teachers don't get a job their first try. Also, when you're answering a question during an interview, give yourself a second to think about your answer. Those silences in between when they ask you and when you answer can feel really awkward and uncomfortable, but you need to take a couple of seconds to collect your thoughts and sort of have a semi-prepared answer rather than just diving in, because you're going to just sort of ramble on and stutter rather than giving a clear and concise answer. Now, of course, they're going to expect a little bit of stuttering and a little bit of stumbling on your words, but think about it so that you appear to be more thoughtful about your answers. That's really important, okay? You want to really try to avoid word vomit. And I don't know if you notice the format that I tried to use as much as possible, but whenever I was asked a question, I would try to make an opinion statement about the topic of the question, and then I would give a specific example, either from my own teaching or from an observation or even a hypothetical situation where I would give an opinion on what I would do. And then I would try to bring it back to students and learning. And I didn't always get to all of these components, but at least the first 2 where I would give an opinion statement and then an example. And the reason why I do this is that they understand my philosophy, either about building relationships or getting parent involvement or grading and assessment. So I wanted to tell them what I thought about it and then show them that I've actually done something about it, so that it sort of shows that I'm not all talk. So this is a really good format to try if you can't think of something on the fly, or if you're sort of stumbling in terms of how to structure your answers. I would at least do the first two where you state your opinion and give an example. And if you can, bring it back to how that benefits students and their learning. So I really hope that you got a lot of value out of these interviews. I actually had someone tweet out to me that they were listening to a couple of these episodes on the way to an interview, and they got the job. And I think that that's fabulous. So I think that if you're someone who is still hunting for a job and you're going through the interview process, take the time to listen to those previous episodes. They're episodes 9 through 14. And you can listen to them in the car while you're getting ready in the morning and just sort of get a chance to listen to what the questions are and how I answer them. Now, I've taken the time to compile all of the questions from all 7 interviews into one document so that you can go ahead and practice those with someone or start to formulate the type of answers that you would give. And I really suggest that you have someone quiz you or have someone mock interview you. And even try in front of an audience, because it's kind of embarrassing to answer these questions in front of an audience. And you can replicate those feelings of nervousness. If you can push through the nervousness of interviewing in front of other people, even if it's just your family, then you're going to be a lot calmer when you're actually in the interview. To get a copy of those questions, just go to teachersneedteachers.com/15. And there you'll find a link where you can sign up to receive those questions. So again, that link is teachersneedteachers.com/15. And thank you so much for listening to the Teachers Need Teachers podcast. I hope you're enjoying this show and getting some value out of it. I would love to see you over in my Facebook group, which is Teachers Need Teachers. You can also go to teachersneedteachers.com/FB. And I have to tell you guys that I am so humbled and grateful for the amazing reviews left in Apple Podcasts. Jasmine Neri said that I just received my bachelor in education in becoming a teacher. This podcast is just what I needed to help me navigate this new journey. So reviews like this really encouraged me to keep on going and let me know that I'm on the right track. I would love it if you guys could head over there and leave a rating and review. Have a fabulous day, and I will see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Teachers Need Teachers podcast. Love this episode? Head over to Apple Podcast or Google Play to subscribe, rate, and leave a review.